The galaxy was full of rules, and Eli Carter had learned that humans were always in the middle of them. He had never asked to be a diplomat. He wanted a quiet life, maybe on Earth or one of the farming colonies. But the Galactic Concord had other plans. Humans, rare in number but sharp in spirit, were considered valuable for bridging gaps between alien species. Their strange mix of courage, creativity, and stubbornness made them hard to ignore. That was how Eli found himself aboard the Aurora Dominion, the great silver flagship of the Concord's High Council. Its long halls glowed with soft blue light, and towering alien guards lined the walkways, their eyes following him with interest. He felt small, though he was not short for a human. Here, among beings twice his height and armed with natural strength, he was little more than fragile flesh and bone. The message that had summoned him was brief. You have been assigned. Report at once. Assigned. Assigned to what? No one would tell him until he arrived at the council chamber. The heavy doors opened with a hiss and Eli stepped inside. The room was vast, with a domed ceiling painted in starlight patterns. At the far end stood a figure in shining black armor, her stance strong, her presence commanding. Commander Kareth of the Valari. Eli had heard her name before. The Valari were a warrior race, proud and unyielding. Kareth was said to have led victories against pirate fleets and rival powers. Her reputation alone made her one of the most respected figures in the Concord. She turned slowly, her golden eyes narrowing as they landed on Eli. A smirk tugged at the edge of her mouth. So, she said, her voice low but sharp. This is the human. Eli cleared his throat. Eli Carter, cultural envoy, at your service. He gave the respectful bow he had been taught, though he suspected it looked clumsy. Kareth stepped closer. She was nearly a head taller, with dark blue skin that shimmered under the chamber lights. Her armor carried faint scars, proof of countless battles. You have been assigned to me, she said simply. It is time to fulfill your duties. Eli blinked. My duties? She tilted her head, smirk widening. Yes, the Concord's Council has approved it. Our traditions demand a bond partner in times of rising tension. You, human, are now mine. Eli's mind raced. Bond partner? He had read about Valari culture, about their rituals of loyalty and shared responsibility, but no one had told him he would be chosen. He opened his mouth to protest, but Kareth's gaze pinned him in place. Do you think you can refuse? She asked, one brow raised. Eli swallowed hard. I'd like to understand what exactly this means before I sign my life away. Her laugh was sudden and sharp, echoing through the chamber. You have spirit. That is good. I do not want a partner who hides behind silence. She leaned closer, her golden eyes studying him. It means you will stand with me. In council, in battle, in all matters where trust is demanded. You will not run. You will not betray. That is your duty. Eli forced himself to meet her gaze. And what do I gain from this? Arrangement? Kareth smirked again, amused by his boldness. You gain survival, human. You gain my protection, and perhaps you will gain respect. The council chamber doors opened again and an aide hurried inside. His insectoid wings buzzed nervously. Commander Kareth. Urgent message from the outer sectors. The Mornath Collective has broken the treaty line. A summit must be called. Kareth's smirk faded into a serious expression. She glanced at Eli. It seems your assignment begins sooner than expected. Eli frowned. He had imagined his role would involve speeches, maybe ceremonial dinners. Not sudden crises. Summit? He asked. The collective moves against the Concord, Kareth explained as she strode toward the exit. Their fleets mass at the border. If they strike, thousands will die. We must act quickly. She stopped and looked over her shoulder at him. Come, human. You are bound to me now. If I go, you go. Eli hesitated only a moment before following. His heart pounded. He had no training for warfare, no experience in high-level politics. But there was something in her tone, firm, unquestioning, that made him step forward. The corridors of the Aurora Dominion filled with activity as officers rushed to prepare. Kareth led him into a strategy chamber where holographic stars lit the table. She motioned for Eli to stand beside her. This summit will gather the conquered races, she said. They will want to see the human. They always do. Your kind is rare and your voice carries a strange weight among them. Eli raised an eyebrow. Strange weight? You speak with both logic and emotion, Kareth replied. Other species see it as unpredictable. Some fear it, Some admire it. It unsettles them, and unsettled minds can be persuaded. Eli was silent for a moment. He realized that she was not mocking him. She was telling him why he mattered. The strategy chamber filled with alien leaders, tall, scaled Sarathi, feathered Teirin, luminous Dravians. All eyes turned to Eli as Kareth introduced him. He felt the weight of their stares, the quiet judgment. "This is the human assigned to me," Kareth announced, her voice carrying authority. "He will stand as envoy during these talks." Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some voices were skeptical, others curious. Eli took a breath and remembered his training. Clear words, steady tone, no fear. "I may not be the strongest in this room," he said carefully, "but I will do everything I can to keep peace between us. If the collective wants war, then we must be stronger together." The room quieted. It was not a grand speech, but it was honest. Kareth glanced at him, the corner of her mouth twitching upward in approval. The meeting ended with plans for the summit, but unease lingered. As they left the chamber, Kareth walked beside him. "You surprised them," she said. "Even me. Perhaps you will not be such a burden after all." Eli sighed. "High praise from someone who just claimed ownership of me." Her smirk returned. "Ownership? No assignment, and perhaps a test." She leaned close enough that he could feel her presence. "Do not fail me, human." Eli looked ahead, his stomach tight with nerves. He didn't fully understand what he had stepped into. But one thing was clear, this was no simple duty. It was the beginning of something far larger, and Kareth was watching. Always watching. The Aurora Dominion drifted through silent space, its silver hull glowing against the stars. Inside, preparations for the conquered summit were already underway. Eli Carter had barely slept since the council session. His thoughts were tangled, half with confusion about his assignment to Commander Kareth, and half with the growing tension in the galaxy. He found himself standing in the observation deck, watching distant stars shimmer. He thought about Earth, quiet, blue, and far away. Here he was, a single human among towering powers, chosen to stand beside one of the most feared commanders in the galaxy. He could hardly believe it. The sound of armored boots pulled him from his thoughts. Kareth entered, her sharp gaze landing on him. Even out of battle, she carried herself like a blade ready to strike. "You should rest," she said. "The summit will demand all your focus." Eli turned uneasy. "I've been thinking." "You still haven't explained why me. I'm no warrior. I'm not even a senior envoy. Surely the Conquered had better options." Kareth crossed her arms, a faint smirk tugging her lips. "That is exactly why. You are not what the other races expect. They know my strength already. What they do not know is how a fragile human stands unshaken beside me." Eli gave a short laugh. "Unshaken? You should have seen me yesterday. I was shaking so badly I thought my knees would give out. Yet you stood," Kareth said firmly, "and that is what they will remember." Her words lingered with him. For all her harshness, she had a way of cutting through his doubts. The summit was held on a neutral station orbiting a barren world. The massive hall shimmered with light, as leaders from dozens of races filled their seats. The air was heavy with suspicion and tension. The Mornath Collective had already begun spreading fear with raids on smaller colonies, and many believed war was inevitable. Eli sat at Kareth's side, feeling the weight of hundreds of eyes. His heart raced, but he remembered her words. Stand and they will remember. The first hours of discussion were harsh. Voices rose, claws and wings pointed, accusations thrown across the table. The Valari demanded decisive strikes against the Mornath. The Dravians argued for patience. The Sarathi hissed about betrayal. Finally, Kareth rose. Her voice cut through the noise. "We waste time. The collective grows bolder each day. We must act as one or fall as many." The leaders muttered, some nodding, some glaring. Then Kareth gestured toward Eli. "And the human speaks with me." Eli felt his throat tighten. This was his moment. He rose slowly, searching for words. "Look at us," he began. "Different shapes, different voices, different worlds. The collective wants us to fear these differences. They want us to break apart. But I've seen enough to know that unity is stronger than fear. Humans may be small, but we have survived every challenge because we learned to stand together, even when we disagreed. The same can be true here." Silence filled the hall. For a heartbeat, Eli thought he had failed. Then the Terran chieftain, feathered wings shifting, gave a slow nod. "The human speaks wisely. Perhaps his people's stubbornness is what we need." A ripple of agreement spread through the chamber. Kareth's golden eyes flickered with approval, but before more could be said, alarms shrieked. Red lights flashed. The station shook violently. Officers rushed into the hall. "The Mornath," someone cried. "They've attacked the perimeter fleet." Chaos erupted. The delegates shouted, some rushing for the exits. Kareth seized Eli's arm. "Stay with me." The station corridors were alive with panic. Soldiers clashed with intruders, dark, insect-like Mornath fighters. Kareth drew her blade, its edge glowing faintly. Eli tried to stay close, heart pounding as the commander cut down attackers with swift precision. But there were too many. The Mornath swarmed through the hallways, driving them back. Eli spotted a group of delegates cornered near a collapsed wall. Without thinking, he darted toward them. "This way!" he shouted, waving them toward an emergency hatch he had noticed earlier. The aliens hesitated, but his urgency pushed them to follow. Together they escaped into a safer corridor. Kareth fought her way to him, her armor scratched, her breathing steady. "You risked yourself for them," she said, half in disbelief. "They would have been slaughtered," Eli replied, catching his breath. "Someone had to act." Her smirk returned, even in battle. "Perhaps you are not as fragile as you look." Before they could say more, a blast shook the floor. A squad of Mornath surrounded them, weapons raised. Kareth moved to shield Eli, but one of the attackers struck her with a stun weapon. She staggered, her blade falling from her hand. "Kareth!" Eli shouted. He tried to reach her, but rough arms seized him. The world blurred as he was dragged away. His last sight was Kareth collapsing under the weight of several attackers, still struggling even as the stun field overtook her. When Eli woke, the air was cold and damp. He was inside a dim metallic chamber, the smell of oil and rust sharp in his nose. Shackles bound his wrists. Across from him, Kareth was chained as well, though even restrained, she held herself tall. "You're awake," she said calmly. Eli groaned, trying to sit up. "Where are we?" "The collective's ship," Kareth answered. "They mean to use us as bargaining tools or examples." Eli felt his chest tighten. "Examples?" Her golden eyes fixed on him. "They will try to break us, show the conquered that loyalty is weakness, that humans and Valari cannot stand as one." Eli stared at her, fear creeping in. But beneath the fear was something else, anger. He had not chosen this assignment, but now it was his reality. He thought of the delegates he had saved, of the words he had spoken at the summit. "We won't let them," he said firmly. Kareth studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. I was beginning to wonder if they had chosen the wrong human." Despite the cold, despite the chains, Eli felt a spark of determination rise within him. They were captives now, but he knew the fight was far from over, and Kareth, even bound, smirked at him once again. "Perhaps this will be the true test of your duty." The metallic walls of the Mornath ship hummed with energy. Eli Carter flexed his wrists against the restraints, testing the chains. They were strong, but he had learned something from Kareth already. Clever thinking often mattered more than brute strength. Kareth sat opposite him, her posture perfect even in captivity. She had observed him silently, judging his courage and wit. Now she spoke. "Listen carefully, human," she said. "We will not remain here long. They underestimate us, and that is our advantage." Eli leaned forward, curiosity mixed with urgency. "What do you mean?" "The Mornath think humans are fragile," Kareth explained. "They think Valari act alone. But together, we can turn their confidence against them." Eli swallowed. "I like the sound of that, but how?" Kareth smirked. "First, we escape." She studied the lock on her chains, then glanced at Eli. "The mechanism uses a simple pulse frequency. You will notice patterns if you watch carefully." Eli's eyes widened. "So, observation is the key?" "Yes," Kareth said. "Humans are unpredictable. You notice what others overlook. That may save us." Hours passed as they observed the guards, memorized the security schedule, and whispered plans in the shadows. Kareth taught Eli a focus technique that Valari warriors use to control fear and sharpen perception. It was subtle, almost meditative. Eli felt his mind clearing, his senses alert to the smallest sound or flicker of movement. Finally, the moment came. A single guard walked down the corridor, unaware of their careful observation. Kareth signaled, and Eli acted. Using a piece of metal he had hidden from the wall panel, he manipulated the lock on his chains. With a quiet click, they were free. Kareth nodded. "Well done. Now for the rest of them." They crept through the corridors, avoiding patrols with a combination of stealth and clever timing. At one point, Eli had to distract a Mornath sentinel by throwing a small piece of debris down a side passage. The alien rushed after the noise, allowing them to slip past. As they moved, Kareth shared intelligence about the Mornath's fleet. They plan to hit the Concord's outer colonies next, she said. If we can reach a communications hub, we can warn them. Eli considered this. We could save thousands, he said. The thought gave him courage. We have to try. They reached the control room, a hub of blinking lights and alien consoles. Kareth assessed the systems while Eli studied the access panels. Using logic and a little improvisation, he connected a temporary relay. Sparks flew, but the device worked, sending a message to the Concord fleet. Kareth watched him, impressed. You learn quickly. Perhaps humans have more courage than we expected. Eli smiled despite the tension. I'm not sure about courage. Maybe just desperation. Kareth's smirk widened. Cleverness and determination. Human traits that matter more than sheer strength. The message sent. Alarms shrieked. The Mornath had discovered the breach. Red lights bathed the corridor as reinforcements arrived. Kareth drew her blade, and Eli, though unarmed, stayed close, ready to think fast. They fought their way to a hangar bay, ducking energy blasts and avoiding traps. Eli noticed a small shuttle, abandoned but functional. There, he pointed. We can use that, Kareth nodded. Go, Eli ran, climbing into the shuttle. Kareth followed, guarding the controls with precision. He started the engines, hearts pounding as the ship lifted from the hangar, narrowly avoiding pursuing fighters. Once in open space, Eli took a deep breath. Stars streaked past the cockpit window as they raced toward conquered territory. Kareth monitored the sensors, calculating the fastest route while avoiding Mornath patrols. You did well, human, she said finally, breaking the tense silence. I did not expect you to think so clearly under pressure. Eli shrugged. You make it hard not to. Your presence is motivating. Kareth's golden eyes softened slightly. Perhaps I underestimated humans, she admitted. Not in skill, they are adaptable, but in spirit. You fight not because you must, but because you choose to. Eli smiled faintly, a warmth spreading in his chest. This was no longer a duty he dreaded. It was a challenge he embraced. They reached conquered space and were greeted by the fleet. The warning had arrived in time, giving the fleet the edge they needed to intercept Mornath forces. Battles flared across the sector, but thanks to Eli's quick thinking and Kareth's command, the tide turned. The Mornath were forced into retreat, their plans foiled. The conquered colonies were safe, and the delegates who had watched Eli's calm diplomacy and courage now looked upon him with respect. After the battle, Kareth and Eli stood on the deck of the Aurora Dominion, watching the stars. The hum of the fleet surrounded them, a quiet victory after chaos. You survived, Kareth said, her voice calm but approving. And not only survived, you excelled. Eli laughed softly. I had a good teacher, and maybe I learned a thing or two about myself. Kareth's smirk returned, gentle this time. I see now why the Council assigned you to me. You are not just a human, Eli Carter. You are a symbol of what our species can achieve when we stand together. He looked at her, understanding at last the depth of their bond. It was not about ceremony, not about duty alone. It was about trust, courage, and choice. You mean, you respect me? Eli asked, a small smile breaking through. Kareth's golden eyes met his. I do, and perhaps something more. Eli chuckled, feeling a sense of relief and pride. I suppose that makes this assignment a little less terrifying. Kareth laughed softly. Perhaps. But the galaxy is far from safe, and we will face many more challenges together. Eli nodded. For the first time, he felt truly ready. Whatever the galaxy could throw at them, humans, he and Kareth, would meet it side by side. The stars stretched before them, endless and bright. And for Eli Carter, being assigned had become the adventure of a lifetime. The human had proven himself. The Valari had acknowledged his worth, and the galaxy, wide and unpredictable, had yet to see the full measure of what humans could achieve. Together they turned toward the unknown, ready for whatever came next. Would you like me to also compile all 3 parts into one complete story file so you have it ready to read continuously?